She said, "I have feelings for you, just not romantic ones." I said, "I understand. Thanks for being honest." What she didn't know was that I had the engagement ring sitting in my car. I am Jake, 28M, and this happened with my girlfriend Madison, 26F, of 25 years. We have been living together in my apartment downtown for about 18 months, and I thought everything was going great. Last Tuesday night, I was working on a presentation for my marketing firm when Madison came into my home office with this really serious expression. She had clearly been rehearsing something because she stood there like she was about to give a board presentation. "Jake, I need to be completely honest with you about something," she started. "I do have real, genuine feelings for you, but they are not romantic feelings. I care about you deeply as a person, but I am not in love with you the way you deserve." I looked up from my laptop, processing what she was saying. The engagement ring I had bought 3 weeks earlier was literally sitting in my car's glove compartment, because I had been planning to propose this weekend at the beach where we had our first date. "I understand," I said, keeping my voice calm. "Thanks for being honest with me." She seemed genuinely surprised by how calmly I took it. I think she expected crying or begging or some big emotional scene. Instead, I just went back to working on my presentation like she had told me she preferred coffee over tea. "That is it?" she asked, her voice rising slightly. "You are not going to say anything else? What would you like me to say?" "I appreciate you clarifying where we stand. It is helpful information." She left looking confused and unsettled. Later that night, I heard her on the phone with her friends, and they were all praising her for being so brave and emotionally mature. They kept saying how refreshing it was that she could have such honest communication and how lucky she was to have someone who could handle the truth so well. What they didn't know was that I was sitting there calculating exactly what our relationship had been costing me and what it meant now that she would basically friend-zoned me after 2.5 years. I was also thinking about the proposal speech I had been practicing in the mirror and the romantic weekend getaway I had booked for next month. The next morning, I returned the ring to the jewelry store, $3,000 back in my account. Just like that. The salesman looked sympathetic when I explained the situation, but I actually felt relieved. Sometimes the universe really does protect you from making huge mistakes. I spent the rest of that day thinking about what Madison had actually said. She appreciated having me in her life, but not in the way I thought we were building toward. She enjoyed the relationship benefits, but didn't want the emotional commitment that comes with being truly in love with someone. Fair enough, but that changed everything about how I would approach our living situation going forward. That evening, when she asked if I wanted to watch our usual show together, I politely declined and said I had some things to figure out. She looked hurt, like she couldn't understand why her honest conversation had changed anything between us. I realized then that she expected everything to continue exactly the same way, just without the pressure of her having to pretend she might want to marry me someday. Update 1: It has been about a month since Madison's honest conversation, and I have been treating her exactly like she asked to be treated, as a friend instead of a romantic partner. The changes have been interesting, to say the least. First, I stopped doing all the boyfriend things I used to do automatically. No more bringing her coffee in bed every morning with her specific order of oat milk latte, with an extra shot, and vanilla syrup from the expensive place downtown that is 15 minutes out of my way. No more picking up her favorite almond croissants on my way home from work. No more surprise dinner reservations at restaurants she would hint about on Instagram. When she asked why I wasn't making my famous Sunday pancakes for both of us anymore, I explained that I make breakfast for myself now, but she is welcome to use the kitchen after I am done. The look on her face was priceless, like she couldn't understand why her personal breakfast service had been discontinued. "But you love cooking for me," she said, watching me make a single serving of pancakes. "I used to love doing things for someone I was in love with," I corrected. "Friends don't typically provide daily breakfast service." When her laptop started acting up last week, she came to me like she always did. I have always been the tech guy who fixes everything: her computer, her phone, setting up her smart television, troubleshooting her podcast equipment for her little pottery business. "Hey, can you take a look at this? It is running super slow and making weird noises. You should probably take it to Best Buy or call tech support," I said without looking up from my own work. "They will be able to run diagnostics and fix any hardware issues. But you always fix my computer problems. You are so good at this stuff." "I used to do that when we were dating," I explained patiently. "Friends don't usually provide free support. I am sure the Geek Squad can help you out. The bathroom situation revealed just how much I had been subsidizing her lifestyle. I replaced all the expensive shampoos and skincare products with basic drugstore brands. Gone were the $45 bottles of sulfate-free shampoo, the $80 serums, the fancy face masks she loved. Everything got swapped out for generic versions that cost about 1/10 the price. When Madison asked about it, I explained that I had been covering those costs as part of our relationship. But since we are friends now, we should split household expenses more fairly. I didn't realize you were keeping track of shampoo expenses, she said, sounding genuinely hurt. I wasn't keeping track, I replied. I was just buying nice things for us because I thought we were building a future together. Friends typically handle their own personal care products. I also removed her from my Amazon Prime, Netflix, Spotify, and HBO Max accounts. When she couldn't order something with free shipping, I suggested she might want to get her own Prime membership since shared accounts are more of a couple thing than a friendship thing. You are being petty, she said when her Spotify stopped working mid-playlist. I am being appropriate, I corrected. Couples share streaming accounts. Friends have their own subscriptions. Madison initially thought this was just a processing phase and kept telling her friends I would go back to normal eventually. She had no idea that I would permanently recategorize our entire relationship based on her own clear statement about her feelings. The man who used to anticipate her needs and solve her problems before she even asked had become a polite roommate who maintained clear boundaries and expected equal participation in all shared expenses. Update 2: Madison's birthday was last week, and it became the ultimate test of our new friendship dynamic. Previous years had been elaborate affairs that I had planned for weeks in advance. For her 24th birthday, I surprised her with a weekend trip to Napa Valley, complete with wine tastings, and a stay at a boutique hotel overlooking the vineyards. For her 25th, I planned a surprise party at the rooftop bar where we first met, hired a photographer to capture the moment, and flew in her favorite cake from this specialty bakery in Portland that she had mentioned loving during a work trip. The total cost was probably close to $2,000. But seeing her face light up made every penny worth it. This year, I sent a happy birthday text at 9 in the morning and gave her a $25 gift card to Target that I picked up during my lunch break. The contrast was not lost on her. "This is really all you are doing for my birthday?" she asked that evening, holding the gift card like it might be contaminated. "We can grab dinner somewhere if you want," I offered cheerfully. "Want to split the bill at that new Italian place? I heard their pasta is really good." Her face cycled through about 5 different emotions: confusion, hurt, disbelief, anger, then something that looked a lot like panic. "Split the bill. Jake, it is my birthday." "Right, which is why I got you the gift card," I said, gesturing toward the Target card she was still holding. "That should cover your half of dinner pretty much anywhere you would want to go." She stood there for a long moment, probably realizing for the first time what just friends actually meant in practical terms. She ended up ordering Thai food delivery and eating alone while I went to my weekly poker game with the guys. Her book club friends who had celebrated her emotional honesty were mysteriously unavailable for actual birthday support. When I got home around 11, she was on the couch looking miserable, surrounded by the containers from her solo birthday dinner. "I cannot believe you are treating me like this," she said without looking up. "Like what exactly?" "Like I don't matter to you anymore." I sat down across from her and gave her my full attention. "Madison, I am treating you exactly how you asked to be treated. You said you have feelings for me, just not romantic ones. This is what friendship looks like. Friends don't plan elaborate birthday surprises or spend hundreds of dollars on celebrations. They send nice texts and maybe grab casual dinner if schedules work out." The reality of what she would actually requested was finally hitting her. But the real wake-up call came when she got the flu 2 weeks later. In the past, I would have called in sick to work, made homemade chicken soup, run to the pharmacy for medicine, and basically been her personal nurse until she recovered. This time, I texted, "Hope you feel better soon. Make sure to stay hydrated," and went to work as usual. When she complained that I wasn't taking care of her, I reminded her that romantic partners take care of each other when they are sick. Friends send get well texts and maybe drop off soup if it is convenient. "You used to love taking care of me," she said, looking genuinely confused and hurt. "I used to be in love with you," I replied, matter-of-factly. "Now we are friends. The level of care is appropriately different. Final update: 3 months after Madison's declaration, I told her I would put an offer on a condo in the suburbs and would be moving out when our lease ended. Her face went completely white. "You bought a place?" Without discussing it with me. I mentioned I was house hunting when you asked about my weekend plans. I didn't realize friends needed to consult each other on major financial decisions. Our current rent is $2,800 a month, and while we supposedly split everything 50-50, I had been covering about 70% of the actual housing costs when you included utilities, internet, and various fees I handled without calculating exact portions. That is when the desperate backtracking started. "Jake, I think I made a huge mistake," she said that night. "I have been thinking about what I said about my feelings, and I was wrong. I do love you, I really do love you, and I want us to try again." I gave her my full attention, the way I would for any friend experiencing a crisis. "It sounds like you are under a lot of stress right now. Major life changes often make people reconsider past decisions. That is completely normal. I am saying I want to be with you romantically again. I want to move to the new place with you and go back to how things were." I considered her words carefully. "I appreciate you sharing that, but romantic love requires mutual feelings from the beginning. When you clearly stated your limitations 4 months ago, I accepted them and adjusted permanently. Friendship is what you offered, and friendship is what we have. But here is the real kicker, and I probably should have led with this detail. 2 weeks before I moved out, Madison's sister Emma came to help her pack and pulled me aside. "Jake, I need to tell you something," Emma said, looking uncomfortable. "Madison knew you were going to propose. She found the ring receipt in your car about a month before she had that conversation with you." Everything clicked into place. Madison had panicked when she found evidence of my proposal plans, but she didn't want to lose the lifestyle I provided either. So she thought she could friend zone me while keeping all the relationship benefits. She never expected me to actually treat her like just a friend. When I confronted Madison about this, she broke down completely. "I was scared," she admitted. "I thought maybe if we stayed friends, my feelings might develop over time. I thought you would wait for me." "Madison, you had 2.5 years with unlimited access to my heart, my home, my support, and my future plans. The problem wasn't time or pressure. The problem was that you were never actually in love with me. I have been in my new place for 4 months now, and I am dating someone wonderful. Sarah is a graphic designer who made it very clear from our first date that her feelings are definitely the romantic kind. When she saw my condo for the first time, she said it felt like a home where someone was actually happy to be there." Madison had to move back in with her parents after struggling to afford rent on her pottery business income. Through mutual friends, I learned she now talks about our relationship as the one that got away, and finally understands the difference between having someone who loved her versus someone who just enjoyed her company while it was convenient. The engagement ring money helped with my down payment. Sometimes the universe really does protect you from making terrible mistakes, and sometimes the person you thought you couldn't live without turns out to be the person you are much happier living without.